testing, testing. All right, testing, testing. All right, testing, testing. Okay, we are back. What's up, Josh? You good on the YouTube side, man? I couldn't tell if I was making, you could hear anything or not. Let me put the shit on Jumbotron. We're going to begin. I really didn't feel like doing this shit today. Low key, high key. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't even gonna try to butter or smooth it up. I've just been tired lately. And it's really not that much shit to talk about either, yo. That's another thing. Nelson, what's going on? Let's get it. So let me go, sound sexy as fuck. Wait, what? There we go. Oh. So let me go here. Open up the thread. Okay. And we're live. We are live. Hold on. Wait. I knew that shit. Motherfucker. So I can't even pull it up, but it's here for people to see. It's here for people to see. Anyway, welcome to another edition of A Loud Discussion, where we talk about or we discuss gaming news in general, whether it's short or long or whatever the case is. It's all gaming talk with a little sprinkle of toxicity. Now, you know I'm not one for intros, so let's get this shit started. Let's get it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, all that good shit. All that shit helps me. It is very, very hard to combat the this system here. And that's okay. We're gonna work through it. So we have 3 topics to talk about today. And I'm kind of low key, well, I'm high key actually, entertain me on my drive to just leaving home. Like, I ain't your slave, nigga. No, but so actually I should test this shit out while we're talking. I was gonna say. So we have 3 topics to talk about today. And I'll do like a little what do you call it? A little summary before we get on. I forgot I wanted to do this shit in the first place. So our first topic here is Xbox apparently outsells the PlayStation 5 in the US. So here is this disingenuous shit, and then we can talk about it more in detail, right? Microsoft's CEO, Satya Nadella, whatever the fuck his name is, in an earnings call with investors, has stated that the Xbox Series X and S continues to be the fastest selling Xbox generation, as it is tracking ahead of the Xbox One, Xbox 360, and the original Xbox. He also reveals that the Xbox Series X and X has been the market leader in the generation market in the North America region for 3 straight quarters. And he quotes, "In gaming, we sold more consoles life to date than any previous generation of Xbox and have been a market leader," meaning that they... he's not counting Switch, but we'll get to that. "The market leader in North America for 3 straight quarters in a row amongst the next generation consoles." I like this. This wordplay is interesting. It's cute. Then he goes on and says that he says that the Xbox Series X and S is the best-selling next-generation console in North America for the quarters ending in December 21, March of 2022, and June of 2022. So I guess they're counting them in quarters. I don't fucking know what that is. Either way, one of the things that they're not hitting on, and then we're going to elaborate after I get all of this out, because I want to make a little YouTube clip of this, so people can kind of get the synopsis of everything. He's not mentioning the fact that they actually have they had chip priority for a little bit, where they siphon all the chips to make the Xbox Series X and X's, leaving very little in the U.S. Right? Luckily, Sony had the luxury of being very, very, very successful in their launch, right? And then actually, if I want to go into this a little bit further, it is a direct cause of any next generation console to sell. They're feeding off of that energy of the PlayStation 5 being one of the most successful consoles. So that's number one. Number two, again, this goes as part of what I was just saying earlier. The PlayStation is there's little stock. At least as of now, they've been able to increase the amount that they are selling. One of the reasons why it was sucking is because when the pandemic happened, not that many people were able to work or were able to work in the first place, right? That was one of the issues. So there's a lot of expensive components within the PlayStation 5 that slowed down the process. And if everyone was working, that wouldn't have been a problem in this case. That wouldn't have been the problem. That is the thing there. PlayStation 5, I wouldn't say it's over-engineered in terms of, well, I would say like the heating unit or whatever the fuck you call it, the heatsink, is probably like over-engineered. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. So it takes more time to make than the Xbox Series consoles. That's one of the issues here. What's going on, DeAndre? So that was that. That caused all of that. So we'll talk about that later. Moving on to the second topic here, right? We back out of here. And this is a tweet from Christopher Drang. He says the PlayStation 5 levels jumped by 56% in August compared to July in the UK, which means that the PlayStation or the Sony's console has overtaken the Switch to become 2022's best-selling console so far. A couple of reasons why this is important. A, it's showing that there's a lot of demand for this console. B, it's more expensive than the Switch. And I'll talk about that later. And then the last comment that we have, our last subject that we have, is the PlayStation. Oh no, excuse me. What am I talking about? Hold on. Let me take a look at the. Look at the chat here. See if there's anything. Oh shit. Nutella. Better than peanut butter. Twitter space crash. Did it? Twitter space didn't crash. What are you talking about? Yo, you can't be coming in here with the negativities. Hold on, let me take a look here. Y'all be tripping me out here. Y'all be tripping me. Y'all can't be doing that. Oh, let me take a look here. I gotta take a look at my trusty second screen, which is about PS5. Well, look at here. No, it's working so far. Okay. I'll leave it as is. Cool. Close that out. The last conversation I would like to talk about here is it just me? Is it just me? Or are all new IPs just lackluster? I feel like that's a me thing. But I'm just not excited for these IPs. I'm just not excited for them. I'm really not. I don't know what it is about these new IPs. I don't know what it is. Jeremy, what is this video? Oh, the robot. Okay. Whew. Who? I thought you were gonna try to send me a video and this shit wasn't gonna work. All right, thanks for that shit too. But is it just me, right? Is it just me, or is these new IPs just not that great? To me, it looks like the greatness of new IPs kind of stopped last generation. You know what I mean? Like the other ones are mostly indie, and there's no dig to indie games or anything like that. There's no dig to it. I promise you, there's no dig to it. It's just not that interesting to me, or it doesn't feel like there's the passion in there. You know what I mean? Ooh, I better not charge my shit. Hold on. It's not you, Western Studios. What did they say? It's not you. Western Studios going to shit. I mean, honestly, that's how I feel right now. I actually feel like it ain't worth it. Like, to me, they're just not good. And I'll talk about that in a moment here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the first episode. What the fuck am I talking about? The first topic, excuse me. And we're going to talk about the first topic in detail. So I actually ended up saying a couple of different things within this conversation here. One of which is that the PlayStation 5, we were going to be talking about, by the way, let me just get this shit out of here. The PlayStation 5, no, the Xbox is outselling the PlayStation 5 in the US, right? So that's one of the biggest, this is what you're going to hear lately. You're going to hear this soon, especially if you're in the Twitter spaces. And if you're on Twitter, you're going to hear a lot of Xbox, you know, and you're going to hear them talk about how much or how successful the Xbox Series is. That's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear this shit. And I wanted to kind of be ahead of the situation, right? And explain to you what's going on in this case, right? Because that's the biggest problem. What's going on? Hold on. What's going on, Sword Saint? Excuse me. So I'm gonna go back to what Nadella said. Because he ended up saying some interesting things, and it was just like lots of disingenuous shit. I'll say that. Lots of disingenuous things that he was saying, such as they sold more next generation consoles, you know, which they're considering the only other next generation console, which is kind of true, low key, is the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles. But then I get it. He's talking to his investors. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really get mad at him for speaking to his investors. You know? Why am I bouncing like this? My bad. Hold on. This shit look terrible. That shit had me bouncing like. You gotta see that show on YouTube. That shit's nonsense. Anyway, they're not mentioning that the Series S console, right, is cheaper. What is it? $300, $299, I believe. It's $299. Barely any memory, barely anything at all, right? That's the biggest problem. And they had Cyberpunk kind of release a new patch, which is 1.6. I was talking about that earlier, and they were saying that they just now got 60 frames a second on that console. And to me, when I look at situations like this, it's like these numbers are going to be inflated. You know what I mean? And you're going to hear like a lot of discourse online about the Xbox outselling the PS5 in the US, which is where their hometown is. And that's fine. When you go ahead and you talk about some disingenuous shit like you're outselling your competition, but it's not like truly outselling your competition. What this shit is, it's because the competition can't make enough consoles. You know what I mean? The competition has a console that's more complicated when it comes to the heat sink than yours. You know, that's a big issue. It is just flat out harder to make a PlayStation 5. You know what I mean? To keep that shit. It's like on one side of the fence, you don't need that many transistors. On the other side of the fence, it is still complicated when it comes to the heatsink. It is a bigger console in terms of, it's a bigger console in general. That's another thing that's going on. You know what I mean? So you got situations like that. That's going to make sure that the PlayStation 5 is going to be slower to produce. It's a bigger console too. Like it's probably like more materials. You know what I mean? So you know, it's cheaper if you get the one without the disc. Um, but the components and everything else that's in there is going to be more. And like I said before, I said this earlier. There's definitely they had priority over the chips. And we had that was covered earlier this year in terms of Microsoft having dibs on those chips being made. So they were literally siphoning the chips from PlayStation. They both have very similar chips. Let's just keep it 100. So I wonder, looking at this, and I'm just gonna go on to. Isn't Xbox easier to get? It is though. Like all this shit is from last quarter. That's the thing. All this shit is from last quarter. So I'm gonna take a look at this message again, or this thread here. And we're gonna talk about the comments that people have made with it as well. Here we go. So what people have to say about the Xbox Series consoles outselling, and I think they said that for the quarters of December, the March one, and the June one. I guess it's all consecutive when I look at the shit, right? They said tracking ahead of the 360 means that we can use it for reference as to where the sales figures are at the minimum anyway. So that's beneficial. I think they charted the Xbox at what, 14 million, which I don't think that's accurate. I might run a cap. I don't think that's really accurate at all. But I think that's what's going on with this as well. Let me see here. Take a look at the comments here. I don't know what the hell was that plate you talk about. Anyway, so they go here, and I guess when you go on the link that's attached in the jumbotron here, or attached in the spaces, I'm gonna say this. I ain't gonna use that fucking terminology, corny ass terminology. If you go into the thread that's attached in the spaces, you'll see the website that I've linked this to. So they said basically they're gonna try to, triangulate where it's at based off of the 360. That really changes the game when compared to the Xbox One, which the Xbox One, they fumbled the ball hardcore, like hardcore, right? Many people were saying with the last few years of improvements of game services and hardware of the Xbox One S and X, that the true damage was done with the Xbox Series, which would be struggling over to come to the Xbox One. I don't know what the fuck this dude, he's saying this shit all fucked up. But it turns out that Microsoft had managed to completely undo the damage to the Xbox One, and had not only got back to the base it lost so far, but is tracking ahead of their best-selling console. All this before Starfield and other major current gen-only hitter drops. Why are you typing this way? Fucking bitch. I expect cross-gen to end for the Xbox at least next year, which I think they said 2-year mark anyway, as the Xbox One was already discontinued a long time ago and has become irrelevant. I suspect Halo Infinite to be the last larger cross-gen titles, especially for first party. And as much as people have skepticism for Phil and friends, it seems like it really managed to turn things around. It's incredibly astonishing how Xbox is in an entirely different place than it was 2 years ago. So here's the problem with all of this fucking conversation. Obviously, this person that wrote this in the thread is a complete fanboy. Like that, he's a complete fanboy. No doubt about that shit. No doubt about it. A straight fanboy. You gotta understand, the Xbox Series S console is the one that is actually selling, not the X, because it's cheaper. There's a lot of casual gamers out there that will probably pick up this console thinking that it's going to at least do 60 frames a second or 1440p, which they'll find out soon enough that there's no space to store your games. And if you did buy a memory card, Jesus, you can tell how old I am. If you buy an SSD, a proprietary SSD, and you realize that you should have bought a Series X at that point in time. So there's a lot of capping within this shit in general, which is unfortunate, the amount of cap that I'm seeing here. Then you mentioned Starfield, and you believe that, for some reason, Sony has nothing to bring to the table. They have nothing to bring to the table, apparently, and that they're just going to let Microsoft just steamroll them. Like, just because Sony didn't speak about what they are doing doesn't mean that they don't have anything on the table. We don't know what IPs that they have, which we'll get to in a moment. We have no idea what IPs that they have. We have no fucking clue. You know what I'm saying? I'll read a couple more of this shit. Somebody said it looks like a Colt Eastwood tweet. It does. I take some issue with characterizing Xbox Series X and S as one consoles, as one consoles, for reasons that I've already debated in the past. But congratulations, nevertheless. They've definitely instituted fresh ideas that allowed them to be much more successful in comparison to the prior generations. Which, I guess, here's the thing that's kind of eating at me, right? What exactly did they do in this generation that makes people feel that the Xbox Series X and S is really innovating? Is it Game Pass? Is that what it is? I'm trying to understand if it's the Game Pass that's making people feel like, oh, well, look at here, like Game Pass is really like making our console, making this worthwhile. I mean, I can't fault you. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure it out. Honestly, honest to God, I'm trying to figure this out. I'm not going to go out on a limb because people may want to play a sim where you power wash a gate. A wooden gate. And you may want to do that. You may find that better than The Last of Us Part 1. You may. You absolutely may find it better than The Last of Us Part 1. Maybe. But other than that, what did the console bring to the table? That sound like a fucking Red Pill YouTube channel. What did the bitch bring to the table? What do bitches bring to the table? What do you got to bring to the table? No, but honestly, what does Microsoft and their Xbox bring to the table? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm going to go to YouTube really quickly to see what they have to say. So let me see here. Fast a little up. I'm pretty sure Microsoft counts systems shipped. And believe me, a lot of stored, especially, he's saying a lot of it is stored. Nelson, why are you typing inverted? The fuck? Anyway, I think they are counting shipped. They never specify. Microsoft is very crafty at not specifying what shit. Xbox One first 2 years is the Series S. I don't know what that means. Type better. I think it's Game Pass and acquisitions. Okay. And I love that you bring that up. You say that you think that it's Xbox. I'm sorry. You think it's acquisitions and Game Pass. But let me do you one. Let me go on my handy dandies. I'm not going to read any more of that trash on that website. Not to say that the website's trash, but the people posting is trashy. Game Pass games 2022. We're not going to count PC, right? We're not going to count 2022. I mean, we're not going to count PC. We're not going to do that. I agree. Fuck it. Let's take a look here. So apparently, George Oda, Alaja, the pedestrian. Are these games? Is this like for real? Ember, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Outer Wilds, Spelunky 2, The Antarctic, Nobody Saves the World, Death's Door, Hitman Trilogy, Paparazzi, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction, and I can't do Siege. That was on PC. So I'm gonna do February. Contrast, okay. Dreamscaper, Telling Lies. Ooh, that's a documentary of Phil Spencer. Um, Peggy Nights, Crossfire. I remember that. You remember Crossfire? Crossfire. That shit faded into nothingness. Edge of Eternity. Skull, The Last Kids on Earth, and Staff of Doom. Ark, Infernix, Far Changing Tides, the Microsoft Flight Simulator, I guess. And this is where it starts to take a turn for the worst. Lawnmowing Simulator, Young Souls, Guardians of the Galaxy, Tunic, Paradise Killer, Shredders. So I can go on and on, but I'm not going to sit there and just keep reading these Dollar Tree games. So I'm going to keep reading this shit. But what I do want to say with this, right, is that really the reason why to buy the Xbox Series? I'm trying to figure out, as I keep hearing this multiple times throughout the year, where you have a lot of people that say that they don't have enough money to be buying these games buying a whole bunch of games every month. But Game Pass allows you to like try different games out that you never would have tried before. Game Pass is probably like $1 if you get it on discount, or $15 if you get it straight up, or whatever the case is. But let's just say it's $15, right? Those games that I've mentioned, like most of them, were probably $1.99 or $2 anyway. So how much money are you actually saving? You know, I don't know. I feel like I'm biased here. I honestly feel like I'm biased because none of those games to me really stood out. There are a lot of throwaway Android free-to-play game-looking shits on Game Pass. And if quantity was your game there, they got it. You know what I mean? And just to kind of like tackle what you said before, Wheezy, just to tackle what you said. You said acquisitions, right? Let me go back. You guys are crazy with the messages right now. The Game Pass is free and still got 25 million. Yeah, they haven't even said anything about Game Pass lately. So I'm trying to figure that out. What are we doing? He says Dollar Tree games sound about right. That's what I keep hearing. I am though. I'm a PS. Okay, so I'm PS5 and PS4. So here's the thing, right? So you're not saying anything I see before. All right. If it's about acquisitions, let's say that Microsoft never bought these games, right? Let's say that bought these companies. Let's say that they never bought them. Okay, so if they never bought these games or these companies and publishers, and just hear me out. Yo, Lincoln, what's good, man? They would have already gotten these games. You feel me? They would have gotten these games regardless. Yo, Sticks, what's going on? I saw you in here, but I was in my emotion here. But they would have already gotten these games. So if someone somewhere is excited for acquisitions, what exactly are you excited about? Now, I'll play devil's advocate. Right? I heard personally, when it comes to this shit, I heard that when Microsoft bought these companies and these publishers, right? When they bought these publishers, word around the street is that people were saying that with the trillions of dollars that Microsoft has, right, that they were going to make gaming great again. They were going to take those trillions of dollars and pump that shit. Let me not be hyperbolic. They were going to take billions of dollars and take Activision and transform them into the AAA studio rivaling Rockstar and make America great again with Call of Duty. Apparently, that's what I've been hearing, right? That's what I heard. That's what I heard. But we all know that's not true, because if you look at it, what Microsoft would do, right? What Microsoft would do is that we will buy a company. Let's just say, I don't know, Nokia, right? They will buy Nokia and then use no money to elevate that company. And they did the same thing with Bungie. They didn't give them that much money. They just said, do the same thing over and over again. They have a lot of IPs where they just say, just keep doing the same thing. We don't want to innovate. Clearly, you don't want to innovate. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic by saying that they didn't want to innovate, because it's the same game over and over and over and over again. That's what they're doing. So if you bought this console, you bought this console because you were excited for piss poor or subpar companies, and was hoping that Microsoft somehow, even though they don't have the history of this, was going to make America great again with these companies, right? I just don't understand it. Usually, if you buy something, you don't buy something off the hopes and dreams of what it could possibly be in some alternate fucking Doctor Strange dimension. That's not what we're doing here. You buy something because it looks or sounds good, or you heard word of mouth. So I'm trying to understand. Please help me to understand this shit. All right, I'm gonna read some comments. Try games you would play a quarter for. He said, "Come on now, okay, okay." Yo, Devil Shooter, I'm not that big anymore, Nelson. But thanks. Stop that now. Stop that, Lincoln. You right where you need to be. To say Xbox wins, I don't know. I don't know. That's a lot of games you could buy with that $80 billion. Bro, they could have made like 17 like AAA games. They could have made so many AAA games, but that's not the goal here. So, but anyway, I digress. Going back to why people could possibly be buying or think or really invest in the series consoles. It blows me away to think that you bought the console because someone told you, just you wait, something's coming. I can't tell you what it is, but something's coming. It's going to be good. What? Is that what you bought it for? Like, even with Game Pass. Game Pass is a wish and a hope and a prayer too. That's the same shit. Because if you bought an Xbox and you like Game Pass, most likely you're expecting Microsoft to take Game Pass and to make it into have their AAA studios. They even coined the phrase quadruple studios. With all them billions and trillions of dollars, people were thinking, okay, they said that they were going to put these type of crazy games day and date, and they have yet to do it. It's been like 5 or 6 years since Game Pass was out, and they haven't put anything that was massive first party on Game Pass day and date. To me, when I think about this shit, it's like that you bought Game Pass to get free games, and even the games that you get, not free games, to get a discount, well, they have a rental service. And even if you look at it this way, it's like, okay, fine. You got these games, but you're not even getting the best of the best games. Like, the best that you got was the show. That was the biggest game that you got that was like a AAA game. And that's not even in-house. And it's a sports game. I just don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. But I digress. Nelson Gaming also states that they're not counting purchased game, or I'm sorry, they're counting shipped, not sold consoles. So that's interesting. And if you were so confident about you being the best next generation game or console, why don't you tell us how much you actually sold worldwide? As a matter of fact, that's too much. Just tell us what you sold in the US. I'm kind of curious, Microsoft and Nadella and Phil Spencer. Well, how much did you actually sell? How much did you sell? Fuck all the shortages. Fuck all that. But how much did you actually sell over PlayStation lifetime since the 2 years that you've been out? I don't know. See, I'm not one to clock you for your money. If you want to buy a Series X because you are living discount console gaming and you don't want to spend all that money, is $70, right? What games are you playing? And if you're playing these games, right, are they playable on the Xbox One consoles? Because if they are, congratulations, you played yourself. I'm just saying. We're going to move on to the next topic here, and we're going to talk about the PlayStation is outselling the Switch. Something more meaningful, right? Let's take a look here. So I'm gonna pull this up here once again. It's in the it's posted in the spaces as to what I'm reading. It's a NeoGAF thread. Let me just go ahead and check this out. I don't think anybody in there reviews. Okay, and we're gonna read what they actually said. Go to YouTube real quick. Okay, Bungie. Okay, so Nelson says here that's a lot of games you could buy. Okay, Bungie left because they were tired of making Halo, but they were not allowed to stop. They could have made like 800. For real, they could have made 800 AAA games, like for real. Anyway, you do you, boo. I'm gonna be like one of them ratchet chicks from from the hood. You do you, boo. You do you, boo. So I'm just looking at myself fucking. Let me see here. Okay, cool. So Christopher Drain actually gives us some information on the PlayStation 5 stocks in the UK. Now, UK is at this point a Sony land. The only reason why they weren't able to pump out these games, these consoles, is because what we just talked about before, the shortages and lack of materials like the copper and all that other good stuff. Because they needed that extra copper for the heat sink, where Microsoft didn't need that shit. They didn't go that route. Anyway, he says that the PlayStation 5 stock levels jumped by 56% in August compared to July in the UK, which means that the PlayStation console have overtaken the Switch to become 2022's best-selling console so far. I'm curious to think here. I wonder why people keep buying the PlayStation 5s. Is it because the DualSense, the actual only next generation console? Is it because the bangers that comes out, like Gran Turismo and Horizon, show you what the console is capable of doing? Or is it because the IPs that Sony is funding that are exclusive to that particular console and PC? You remember I coined the phrase only from Sony instead of looking like an idiot and saying they're only on PlayStation, and Sony turns around and put it on PC anyway. So only from Sony. Like stuff like Stray, and just having a situational awareness as to what they're going to release. Is it because that Sony really focuses on games as to why people are buying the PlayStation 5? Or is it because they have a really cool service, PlayStation Plus? I don't know. Or maybe it's just hype. Maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe I'm an idiot. But let's take a look at the comments as to what people were saying about it. So this guy, I guess his Twitter handle is called the Assassin Dark. I'll put that there, because you got all the L's and whatever. I don't feel like pronouncing that shit. But he says the PlayStation 5 is having a strong start. Oh, and was it Returnal? No, that was last year. My bad. Um, the PlayStation 5 is having a strong start, but with games like this, it's no surprise. And he mentions The Last of Us Part 1, which that was a whole debacle too. Everybody was sitting there talking about something. Why you gotta make that game? Why is it $70? Bitch, you just bought an iPhone 14. It looks the same way as the 13. Be quiet. But you got Ratchet and Clank, I believe that came out. I don't know if that was last year. But then you have Horizon, Ratchet and Clank. You got God of War coming out. God of War was good. Shout out to God of War. Shout out to God of War. To think it took all these AAA bangers just to put them 5 million units ahead of Xbox that has no games yet. You know, you got a point there. Ace Pokeboy with a Halo avatar, with a Master Chief avatar, which, you know, I guess you're getting poked by Phil Spencer. Let's take a look at the thread here as to what he said. Bragging about a console selling without any games isn't something to brag about. The one that Microsoft is the only one who isn't pumping out games because it's the type of mindset. It is. I mean, yes, it's actually pretty fucking impressive that you don't really have anything there, and y'all motherfuckers are still buying that shit. Please tell me why you buying it. The fact that the PlayStation 5 is still several leaps ahead in sales, despite there being an infinite amount of Series X consoles on the store shelves and online retail, shows how little value the Series S is and the Xbox brand have. And I forgot about this too. What would the sales numbers be if Sony was able to actually meet the demand? I'm curious to see about that. Is go ahead and buy the Xbox Series S or X, and then congratulations, you played yourself because you realize that there's no games that use the console. Anyway, he says here, I don't think you understand how supply and demand works. If share availability was the true factor in sales, the way you implied, then the Xbox Series would be at least 30 million right now. And he puts laughing emojis and stuff like that. Of course, I understand supply and demand. There's an infinite supply of Xbox Series X consoles and no demand for them. They're practically giving them away in attempts to seem competitive in the hardware space. They actually, to me, in my opinion, my conspiracy 10 foil hat is that they literally are trying to starve the production line of the PlayStation 5. They slow down. I don't think they really give a fuck, and they got the trillions of dollars to do so, or billions of dollars to do so. So I'm looking here, and I think that he shows a picture, and I'll put this shit in the spaces here. This is the dude I'm talking about, so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. It's in Microsoft's best interest as a future gaming monopoly to not boast about their domination. That's how comes they're buying publishers left and right. So you were going to already get those games, and yet you're hyped about acquisitions. Lordy, I can't, just looking at this shit, it's like wow to me. So maybe Christopher has some more information here. And then you got a whole bunch of Xbox jumping into a thread in a tweet that had nothing to do with an Xbox console. So just to me, this fanboy war is pretty fucking crazy. The stock shortage of starting to go back to normal, or it is starting to go back to normal. Now we're going to see the reality of what the PS5 can do. I mean, a rare win for Sony. This will keep the PlayStation fanboys happy for now for a few months. Lordy. It's like these particular posts will just dissolve into fanboys fighting back and forth. Well, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this shit, right? So it is interesting the fact that they are starting to make more PlayStation 5s. And I want to know is Sony going to pass these savings on to the consumers again and lower the price of the PlayStation 5 where they've actually increased the price? I'm actually curious about that. How altruistic can Sony be? This is funny because back in the day, Sony used to always pass the savings to the consumer, unlike Nintendo. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that too. Nintendo had a price increase too, but they disguised their price increase for a limited edition Switch. So they increased it by $10. And just to let you know, if you guys haven't heard word around the block as well, the increase that everybody was crying about amounted to like 16 to 20 bucks around the world. So I don't think that's going to make or break you, but who knows? Maybe. I mean, you got people that's crying. You got people that are starving for games and buying Game Pass for $1. So maybe you do need some milk. Maybe. I'm going to YouTube, see what these comments are all about. Says here, you get a free $70 game. Why is this not showing here? What the fuck is this all about? Bad. There we go. Okay, okay, you redacted your information. Valkyrie, it's about to come out. 52 million units estimate. You get a free $70 game with the Series X now. No, not happening. These days are going. What are you talking about? That's not happening. If the exchange rate evens out in Japan, if the okay, nigga, punctuations. Like I can't read this shit. This one on ass sentence, man. Try to like read this shit. So if the exchange rates even out, Japan's currency is currently getting its ass kicked. So yeah, you're right on that one. So they are getting tore the fuck up, which is fine. But that's what you're talking about. You said that it's not happening. These days are over. I think they're going to lower the price, though. I mean, let's keep it a buck. I think that they will lower their price. I got my 33-cent a month Game Pass, baby. But I do. I think. Hold on for a minute. Here. Okay. So it's recording. I don't know what the fuck was that all about. But anyway, Sony carried over. They've done that before, so it's not like out of the ordinary that they would do that. But like I said before, I wonder why nobody complains about Nintendo just having expensive fucking console that's like almost two generations old. So that's what I'm wondering. I wonder if that's the case. No one's going to complain about Nintendo, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's just weird to me. Is it because of the IPs are so important? Like I feel like Nintendo is like Marvel, you know what I mean, or Disney, and people just overvalue the stuff that they put out there. Not saying that it's bad, but I'm saying it's not $60 good. That's all I'm saying. I mean, you can dispute that as well, but I feel like you should lower the price in general, and that's why Sony's moving towards these free to play or games as a service games. You know what I'm saying? But just realize that too, like these console prices, especially the trajectory that Sony has been doing in the past, will go down eventually because they want more people to access the service. That's the important thing. If the consoles are low enough to be picked up, more people are going to buy into the plus tier system. So you got to look at it that way too, which is fine. It's cool. You know what I mean? That brings me to because it's not really much to talk about when it comes to the UK and them outselling it because it was already like Sony land. You know what I mean? Anyway, let me see here. So that always made me, you know what I mean? Like, that always made me kind of like think about that shit. You know what I mean? So there's that. What is the ramifications for them making a lot of consoles? I think they're ramping up. I think they already knew about this shit too. They're ramping up their console production for the Black Friday or holiday season. So that's good to hear. I think something like this happened a long time ago with the Wii, where after a couple years later, it started to, they started to make more and more, And that's how that went down. So there's that. Imagine having a $300 console while giving away games free on Game Pass and being down by more than 9 million to a console that sells at $499. That's fucking insane to think about during the pandemic. So I don't know. I'm not one to always talk about sales. To me, that's not interesting to me unless the game is in jeopardy of, like, you know, so I don't know, when games get too popular, they start doing stupid things like what happened with The Last of Us. You try to be too innovative and you piss people off somehow. You know what I mean? That's the typical thing. So I'm hoping, my fingers crossed on a side note, that Sony doesn't fuck up God of War. I'm hoping they don't. I hope they don't. I don't know how they would fuck it up, but I'm hoping they don't fuck that shit up. So that brings me to my last topic, right? Games, right? I mentioned this earlier during this podcast about these new IPs and them being like shit to me. Them not being that great in general. And I feel like, I was going back. I was talking to a friend. He was like kind of re-downloading his games that he had because he got an SSD. So he was like re-downloading them, and he was just kind of like reliving the glory days of these games. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, I wonder, when are we going to get games this generation that's not cross-gen and that will blow our motherfucking minds? Like, I love Returnal to death. I really do. I really love Returnal. I love it. I absolutely love Returnal. I do. I absolutely love Returnal. But the problem with Returnal is that I know that if they had a bigger budget, that would be a killer fucking game. You know what I mean? That's a new IP. If I look at, let me see here if I could pull this shit up. Like I told you before, I think last generation is when we started losing, we started losing the innovation. When are we going to get like a Witcher? You know what I mean? When are we going to get like a Dying Light? And people are going to bring up Elden Ring. I know y'all motherfuckers going to bring up Elden Ring. But if you really look at the net of it, that's just a Dark Souls game. It's a Souls game with an open world sprinkled. And look, you can say I'm relegating it to it, but you literally can play Elden Ring. It shares the same mechanics. And it's a whole new IP. You know what I'm saying? So they have, I don't know, most of these games that's trying to innovate are games that are free to play, like Let Hell Loose or Let Hell Let Loose. Kena, which is basically feels like a rare game. You know what I mean? Sifu, which is, again, it's an indie game. You know what I mean? Stray was good. I like Stray. I don't care what anybody says. I feel like that was deep. It's definitely the beginnings of a decent IP where they can like really start to expand on what the IP can do. But we're not really, to me, we're not getting games like we did last generation. We had like stuff like Days Gone, which, by the way, we all know that Ben Studios, their internal managers did not want a green light. It wasn't Sony or Sony Computer or Sony Interactive Entertainment. It wasn't them. It was actually the Ben Studios internally, right? They did not want to greenlight a Days Gone 2. So blame them. But they are making a new IP, which could scratch my itch. Maybe. But one of the cool things that they said about this shit, which I'll put in the Twitter space as well. Let me take a look here. Let's see here. And while I'm looking for this shit, because my job actually helps me to multitask, apparently the new game that's under Ben Studios, they're going to be using the Decima engine. To me, that's pretty fucking lit. No more Unreal Engine, because there are some flaws with Unreal. There's some flaws with the Unreal 5. Uh, it's system memory intensive. Um, High frame rates are not something that would probably be possible. It is possible. I'm sorry. High frame rates are possible, but you got to take away the very thing that makes Unreal 5 Unreal 5. So you have to take features away to make that happen. These consoles just are not really that capable of this particular engine, which is fine. But since Ben Studios is making a new IP and they're using a Decima engine, I want to know what that is going to look like. If you don't know, engines are many different engines put together. So even though Unreal Engine 4 powered Days Gone 2, Days Gone, they made up their own proprietary engine for the crowd system that created the zombies. All right, fine, that's great. I wonder if they can port that into the Decima engine, because they said that their next game is going to have the gameplay mechanics of Days Gone, but it's just going to be a new IP, which is fine. But another idea popped up in my head, and maybe if I get more information on the different engines, it'll allow me to really talk about this subject here. So I was thinking to myself, right? What if they are using the Decima engine to be the in-house Unreal? You know what I mean? Because Unreal is easy to use, but there's a lot of money they have to give to Epic to make that shit work. So they will be able to save a lot of money if their engine is in-house, and then everybody starts sharing internally the Decima engine, and making their own game, because they've been making Days Gone, Decima engine into something that's like Unreal, that you can kind of repurpose and do whatever you need to. You got to look that up. A lot of little flourishes that they have within the Decima engine, and the iteration that we're seeing now is not even the next generation or this current generation's version of Decima. There's still no shortcuts or pipelines for ray tracing within this Decima engine. They haven't done that yet. And these consoles in general, we don't know how far they can push ray tracing. One of the cool things that I did notice, and one of the things that you need to have in your engine if you're going to do ray tracing, is global illumination. Fuck them shadows. You can call those shadows out. The thing that makes it look really nice is the actual global illumination, and then secondly is the reflections. And the reflections and global illumination at its current state is expensive. So once the geniuses internally, the first party geniuses at Sony figures out how to do ray tracing in a timely manner, or if it could process very quickly, it'd be interesting to kind of see what they're going to do. But it will save them a lot of money if they use the Decima engine throughout. You know what I mean? They can hit the ground running. If they need help, they can ask another person. All of the development teams can make this engine into something, or they could add or contribute into making this the ultimate engine for the games that Sony makes. But going back on topic here, I haven't seen a new IP from anyone, actually, even Sony, that was worthwhile. Like, I haven't. And I'm kind of disappointed in that shit. I mean, call me whatever, but I am like high key disappointed. I'm high key disappointed because I'm expecting big things from these developers. I mean, I bought my console. People are buying a 4080, graphics chip and shit like that, and it's like there's no real things. There's no real games or IP that's going to use it, or nothing innovative. You know what I mean? The new IPs, to me, don't have to stay in power like the old IPs. That's why we're getting so many remakes and remasters, because the new IPs that they're coming out with are just not that great. It's like it's soulless. And I know that's a term that's being thrown out so much, but it's like it's soulless. Everybody, including Sony, is thinking about the money. So a lot of these games are going to be games as a service. Prove me wrong, Sony and friends, if you're going to make a new IP that is worthwhile. I'm not talking about no free to play game. I'm not talking about no fucking games as a service. I'm talking about homegrown original IPs that are single player that you claim that you say that you're making. And by the way, where the fuck is the state of play or what is it called again? The gaming showcase. Where is it? Can somebody explain to me where the fuck this shit is? Because I'm thinking about it. I'm really I want to know where it is. Y'all not worried? I'm worried. I'm starting to get a little worried. Unless Sony is literally not going to announce anything until after God of War comes out. I know they ain't that fucking cocky to do some shit like that. That'll be some hardcore. Because I mean, was it September? October? It's 2 months, almost 2 months. I know they ain't that cocky to do some bullshit like that. I know they're not. They better not. But I am curious to see what Wolverine looks like, which would technically be a new IP. I think so too, Double Shooter. I think it's going to be after that release because now they got all the AAA's out. Everybody that's going to buy it is going to buy it, and then now they can move on to 2023 with their plans and stuff like that. That's some ballsy shit. Let me join. Okay, hold on. I remember the Ice Team. I remember the Ice Team. They used to have that shit there, but they're not fucking with that shit. Where are you, DeAndre? Oh, there you go. Yeah, it was good, man.
You started. I'm finally ready to talk. It's a few topics. Wasn't sure if you have to leave soon. But I'm gonna address the what you just spoke on recently. I know you brought up like the God of War, and you're worried about if Sony's going to announce anything for the 2023 pipeline from first party. Well, they've already announced upcoming stuff. Like, you know, if you're a VR person, PSVR 2 is supposed to come out early next year with two first party launch titles: the Firewall Ultra, Firewall 0 Hour sequel called Ultra, and they have the Horizon spin-off VR game. I might try to get the name down, but yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong. That's coming like day one for VR owners. So they're targeting people who are enthusiasts into the VR. They're excited for it. Yeah, you can call it niche, but with PlayStation and their funding and their backing, they're making a headset that's going to have the same quality features as the Oculus Quest has today. So you won't be limited by outdated 10-year-old, 20-year-old PlayStation Move wands. We're actually using real joysticks with real vibrations and real accuracy, and this is a way to break into mainstream, hopefully. Okay. In my opinion, but that's coming from first party. Outside of that, besides Spider-Man 2 supposed to drop in 2023, it could be delayed. Fingers crossed. That's the only first party game I know that doesn't require VR, but you can play it on any PS5 wherever you want. And then they have that third party deals like, Final Fantasy 16 is supposed to come out that year. And then Final Fantasy 7 remake sequel is supposed to also drop that same year. And then we have Forspoken in January, which supposed to come out this year, but it got delayed 3 times, unfortunately.
Right.
You kind of get the picture. Sony has stuff for next year, while also trying to focus on making sure 2022 is the best year so far for PS5 owners, because there's so many first-party games that came out this year, even if they were remakes and remastered. It's the fact that they got their highlights, even if they're PC ports. It's like these games are getting the attention they need to the mainstream. They're not sitting here being like, okay, this is 60 FPS enhanced, and if you already own it, it's like they're charging games you already own. Unfortunately, that is grief, but at the same time, they're bringing back the attention to the game. They're letting people talk about it and actually get involved instead of just go to the wayside because it got a 60 FPS patch that only a few people actually pay attention to it. So, yeah, I'm happy in my opinion, what they're doing, like God of War is around the corner. You've already seen so many games are moving themselves away from God of War. That's insane, in my opinion. I didn't know Sony had it in them to drop one of their first party games in November, right near Call of Duty time period. But it's good. It's good. So if they don't give us a showcase in the next 2 months, that's fine. Let God of War come out, and we'll.
A lot of people are going to be busy, but they're going to be worried. People are going to be worried. You know, they're questioning. They're like, okay, so where are the games? I mean, I'm starting to get worried because it's out of character of Sony to kind of like not list some things there, but they're in the position of power at this point, and it explains what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So I get that portion. I get that they have a lot of stuff to juggle, such as but I guess the beacon of light is the VR2, because they're going to have to start advertising the type of games they have coming out there along with the other stuff there. So Devil Shooter said this shit too. He was saying they're going to announce all this shit after God of War Ragnarok releases, which I think that would be kind of late in the game a little bit, but
No,
it seems that's his trajectory, you know?
it's perfect timing. Just do it after the game come out. Like, let us all focus on God of War now with no distractions. I mean, we're just coming off of that Last of Us Part 1 remake. It has been controversial due to its price tag, but no one can deny the level of graphical fidelity Naughty Dog engine is. Like,
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. People are gonna be upset. People are gonna be so upset. I ain't the only one that think this shit, yo.
Yeah, no one can deny that. Everyone's
Horizon look better.
Of course, I agree with you too. Horizon still looks way better because it's an open world game. But for Naughty Dog, for them to be silent since Last of Us Part 2, and you can see what they're doing in this generation so far with this remake, really shows how far they are ahead when it comes to.
I'm gonna say this too. That's gonna piss people off. I think there are some elements of The Last of Us Part 2. I checked it too. We're not talking about resolution. We're talking about density of props and items and stuff like that. It don't have the chippables, crunchables, lunchables. They don't have those. But in terms of the amount of density and the lighting is more realistic. At least it looks like the art style is slightly different in the remake of The Last of Us Part 1. And The Last of Us Part 2 was darker. It was more following more realistic a tone. Obviously, they couldn't capture the faces again. You know what I'm saying? Because it's old technology from 2013, almost 10 years ago. But the facial expressions are actually better in The Last of Us Part 2, and that's because of the technology. They put the dots on the faces and had the system kind of, or the facial mapping do all that. They had like a couple of different things there to show you that. And people can get mad though. I'm gonna let's keep it a stack. You're like, let's be honest fans, right? Let's be honest fans. You know damn well the PS4 would have been able to render this shit, but at a lower resolution and maybe less character detail. Like this wasn't so far off the mark. Because The Last of Us Part 2 exists. You know it'd be it'd have been close.
I mean, that's true. It could definitely run on the PS4 with lower resolution, lower settings, lower textures, like lower, density for.
It's about how much of a difference it is. And I don't think it'll be that much of a difference because it's the same argument that people that shit on PC gamers will say. Well, you got all this computer, you spent all this money, and you got better textures. That's pretty much it. Well, it's the same difference. I suspect that they have the HBO TV show, and they also have, they were going to probably make it for the PS4, and then realize that not that many people buy cross games on the PS4. It'd be a waste of resources to kind of try to make both of them work. So just stick to the PS5. That Last of Us is not utilizing the PS5. I promise you on that one. I promise you.
I'm going to disagree on that.
You think it is?
Yeah, it is. The game itself.
What games like the last Horizon looking better?
Well, hear me out on this though, right? ever since Sony added the VRR feature back in March, they've been, going back with their older PS5 titles to take advantage of it. With the 40 hertz mode and the 120 FPS support in VRR. And for The Last of Us Remake Part 1 to come out day one with 7 different modes of visual fidelity you can play. You can play the fidelity 30 hertz, native 4K 30 hertz. Then you have the 4K 40 hertz mode for 120 hertz display. Then you have the performance mode, which is 1440p 60, or performance unlocked frame rate, which targets 120 FPS if you have a VRR capable display. It's like that's their day one. When we look at Horizon, it only had 2 modes. It didn't have the VRR support day one. We had to wait 4 or 5 months later for them to take advantage.
Wait. I'm not talking about like that type of feature. I'm talking about graphic features.
No, the graphic is still there. It's like this game, as linear as it is, the character models, the environment, the physics, everything around you, the lighting effects.
Do you want me to send you?
What, imperfection?
No. I'm not looking for imperfections. I'm just looking at games that look better. And
Horizon, I believe.
The character models in Horizon Forbidden West is at a higher fidelity.
Are you talking about their armor, or are you talking about their face?
Their whole shebang. The whole body, the polygon models, right? Because I think you're getting shaders all fucked up. I think you're thinking the shaders is polygonal detail. I'm going to tell you right now. I know you like your little Naughty Dog anyway, but I'm going to tell you right now.
I love Naughty Dog.
I'm ready to crush your dreams. The amount of polygons for Horizon characters on a whole is almost double the character models, or double the polygon models of what do you call it? The Last of Us.
The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about NPCs, or you talking about enemies types?
Both main characters and NPCs. The Decima engine is a engine that focuses on polygon output. That's what it does. Now, in terms of lighting, I can't say, because again, they sacrificed, real-time interaction with the quality of the lighting, and their art style is a little different, or a lot different, But at the same time, like, I know that everybody runs and says, like, "Oh my God, this looks so good," or whatever like that. There are a lot of fucking details in Horizon that is much better than any game really on any console. Period. Horizon and Guerrilla Games are freaks of nature when it comes to that shit.
Give me one example that you find it's doing something more superior, with even its physics base of the engine.
You said physics base. You say physics base?
Well, that's what I personally believe. If something's superior, it means that it can use its physics much better, more realistic. Like, you take rope, the rope can bend in multiple directions without clipping through the character model.
Okay, so Aloy has her rope that she uses to rappel down. That same type of technology. It's also she uses her what do you call it? Her polecaster, which isn't scripted.
Well, it doesn't give you freedom to hook on anything.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not scripted, because you have multiple ways and you have multiple distances and multiple heights that rope system has to actually account for. That's not scripted.
What about destructibility?
You can tear trees down in Horizon. Can you do that in The Last of Us?
No, you can't tear down trees, but there's a scene.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
No.
I hate when people don't. Okay, all right. I'm about to get hyped up this bitch.
I know you about to chew on me like, oh, chill. I platinum it. I beat it twice.
I was gonna say. All right now.
But there's a scene in Last of Us Part 1 remake. Well, it's very common in the game where, let's say you have a bomb or something, and it explodes. There's an area where you're like in a kind of like a book, like library, and there's books on the shelves. So every book on those shelves all have real-time physics. Like, you can shoot the book, it'll fly off. You can throw a bomb, all of them get affected by it. And not only that, like, there's blood splatter. So if you blow up an enemy, wherever it is, that blood will fall in the book while the book is falling off of the shelf all at the same time. So the pages can get wet, can get soaking wet from someone's blood splatter. And like, you got the footprints thing, which is not new, but you get bloody feet, you can see your footprints from the blood. But the fact is, if I'm in the library, every book on that shelf all has physics. They all interact with what I do.
It's not every book on the shelf. It's majority.
Well, I mean, I haven't found one book that was immune to it.
That's number one. Number two, in terms of the blood splatter, we already know that Horizon isn't like that. But one of the things that if you wanted to talk about particle interactions, which is what that would be, in Horizon, smoke is affected by the wind system, which Horizon has a wind system, which The Last of Us doesn't.
That's correct. You're all right about that.
Because that's already physics. That's already physics calculation as is. And it will affect all of the sparks in anything that has soft body physics, or i.e. cloth physics. It will affect that. Wind also affects the foliage in real time. And a wind direction actually affects the wind physics also affect the cloud direction where it's going. There's a PDF I can show you. They say that basically.
No, I believe you.
But I'm saying if you notice, why we talk about physics and books when the Horizon is calculating much more than that shit. And not only can trees be destroyed with enough force, and usually it's not because of alloys and machines that could tear them shits down, but there's also all the props that you have within the area, like there could be pallets of bricks or whatever the case is, all of that shit's destructible if the machine hits it, because it's a machine. You know what I'm saying? So you can't hide behind cover either in this game. There's no hiding behind cover in this game. So like, because all of it's destructible. So
it depends on the cover though. Some of it, like let's say it's a really strong, those really solid metal.
If it's a part of the level design, no. But if it's a prop, such as those books that you were talking about, or signs, it will break. If it's a part of a mountain, no, it's not going to do that. You're not going to get the chippables, lunchables on that shit. But
of course,
but there's a lot more going on physics based than there's a lot more going on physics based.
I definitely agree with that. It just comes back down to my original comparisons that Horizon is the only thing that is looking better than what Last of Us Part 1 is.
But if it's looking better, then what I said was already accurate. I already mentioned that the Last of Us Part 1 is not utilizing the PlayStation 5. It's not.
But it is though. Like it's doing it in other things that do matter to the gamer. Like having options to play in different type of modes do matter.
No. I'm like off. Okay, so what I'm saying, right?
I think that graphical fidelity and
I'm talking about what the PS5 can do graphically, right? And I'm not downgrading the game. I don't think that there's much. There's not that many engines at all. Even that Decima engine is not utilizing the PS5. We're not talking about like 3D sound or adaptive triggers or haptic feedback or accessibility options where you can feel braille. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how powerful the system is, what it could do graphically, and what these games are utilizing. That's all I'm saying.
That's fine.
That's not shitting on it. It's saying we got a lot more coming, is what it's saying.
Of course, I agree. I'm not going
to like these games are not capping the PS5 out. It's just not, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of little tricks that there's a lot of paradigms that the PS5 isn't utilizing right now. You know what I'm saying? It's not utilizing these particular paradigms. Like they have the SSD that's supposed to be incorporated with these new engines that kind of mitigate the system memory that is needed to make these games more detailed or what have you. They're supposed to use the SSD to
it helps with the throughput.
Act like an extension of system memory or video memory.
It helps with the throughput, so it can pull polygons as fast as possible and dump them out.
Right. There isn't an engine right now that utilizes that, and you could tell that The Last of Us Part 1 isn't utilizing it anyway, right? Because the loading times are not instantaneous. Like Horizon loads faster than The Last of Us.
Yeah.
The boot
But
up
I mean, like
sequence.
how much, like time frame wise? Because Last of Us Part One remake loads less than 15 seconds from a cold boot.
Okay, so what are
When
you
you
asking
do it, when
exactly?
you're doing
What are you
counters,
asking?
they load, like when you're doing counters or you're switching between chapters, those also load less than 10 seconds. So I mean, it really depends on how
Why?
we
Why?
comparing it
Let me
to
ask you a question. Why are you so defensive? That's what I'm
Well,
trying to figure out.
I'm not
Like you're
trying to be
super
defensive,
defensive.
but I'm fanboying right now. Okay, you got me cold. I'm fan because
That's
I
not.
love Horizon. I
That's
love
not a
Horizon.
problem. That's not a
I
problem
love
though.
Naughty Dog, man. I love them both.
It's not a problem. It truly isn't. It's not a problem. It's not. All that's saying is that these games are fucking cross-gen, and they're not utilizing the PS5. No, they're not. You should be glad that it's not utilizing the PS5. I'm really curious. That's the point of this last topic here. What are they making, and what is it going to look like? You know what I mean? But you mentioned this too. Let me ask you this before we close out.
Okay.
I know you want to talk about the other things. You should have brought your black ass in this shit
I was
earlier.
listening, but I was like doing stuff in real life personal, so I was taking care of. That's why.
So what you gotta say about the other things?
My other topic was regarding the sales for the US. I was trying to figure out what source did you use. I know you were referring to NeoGAF sourcing on like the Xbox Series console outsold PS5 in North America, but I wouldn't really trust like NeoGAF when they don't have hard information.
Oh, it's linked. It's linked.
It's linked.
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, let me go to your main post.
It's linked.
Yeah. See, PS5 stuff. Microsoft CEO said, "Oh, CEO said this." Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For 3 quarters in a row, sales tracking hit 360 from July, but then, all right, because they were saying from December 2021, March. Yeah, that okay, that's fair. But I thought you were saying like lifetime, like so far in North America.
No, I said 3 quarters.
Oh, okay. All right, now I understand. Sorry.
And just the US on top of it.
Yeah, that was just US. So that's more believable. I do agree. They did outsell PS5 during those time periods, but now that we are in 2022, almost finished, PS5 has been doing better since they've gotten more of their stock under control. Will Xbox outsell them?
You didn't hear what I said.
What? Did I miss something that you said earlier?
Hell yeah, you missed a whole bunch. I mentioned the reasoning as to why it did that. Microsoft had they had dibs on the chips for a while.
The chip thing priority, okay, it's hard for me to believe that chip priority thing because everyone's going through this crisis on chips. It's really hard for me to believe that on anyone's side.
It did happen though.
But also did you have it from Microsoft saying like, oh yeah, we paid extra money to get more chip stuff. Like Sony announced that they are trying their best to get as many chips to get the system as possible, but they couldn't because there was limitations.
Yeah, because there's an NDA. If AMD is saying that we can only give you this much because of the contract that we have, and there's a whole bunch of stories that kind of put that out there. But if AMD is saying we can only give you what the contract states, you know what I mean, and Microsoft is getting these particular things, I think it was supposed to squeeze Sony into a particular corner. They got priority over the chipset. You know what I'm saying? And this is their way of kind of like fucking up their sales, and this indirectly. Personally, that's what I believe, right?
I mean, you have to apply it to the first year alone because Sony in the first year sold over 12 million PS5s.
Yeah, I know. And then all of a sudden,
next year they sold half that amount.
Yeah, and then Microsoft sold more. So it's like, I mean,
wouldn't it apply both ways? Someone paid more for more chips, like.
No, you got one person saying I'm taking because you only have a certain amount of material. You got this particular company eating up all the material. So all you're doing is dividing 10 in different ways. Maybe it was, it was divided by 2, and each manufacturer got 5, right? And then whatever new contract that they developed before Sony, they're probably like, yo, I need 8 of these, 8, and then leave 2 for the other, for anyone else. It could have been that. We don't know. But I know where there's smoke, there's fire. It looks crazy. You were doing fine, and all of a sudden you did less than ever. And then this other company just fucking so many, you got all of them on the shelf. So it's like kind of just saying something looks fishy. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not denying it couldn't be fishy, but it could be applied both ways. I just personally feel the contract agreement maybe had it where the max amount you can do within this span of time is up to 15 million units total, and you as a buyer of the chips, you need to split what you want to manufacture within these time periods. And Sony felt like, hey, first year, let's get as many as we can, but the following year, we're going to slow it down because we're going to reach out maximum amount that's available. I'm just throwing out my opinion. I can be 100% wrong, but again, it's just a very fishy topic to see who paid more. I just know everyone's affected by the lack of culture.
You're absolutely right. It could be.
So we'll find out.
I'm going based off of what my grandma used to always say. You don't have to eat a whole cow to taste a piece of beef. Just saying.
Okay, that's funny. That's funny right there.
I tasted a little piece of it, and I've realized that shit tastes like a hamburger. I don't need to eat everything to realize, oh, that's a cow. You know what I mean? After there's no bones and nothing left. But I get you.
So we'll see when it comes in like 2023, 2024, if things flip again, where all of a sudden Sony says, oh, we reached our maximum supply, we can't prioritize any more chips on our end, even though they announced here in 2022 they plan on shipping over 18 million PS5s by next year. So we'll see if this flips back. If Microsoft
they're catching up. You know what I mean? They had so little in the beginning of the year now and ramping up. So maybe it's weird because if it was just a certain amount and they're only saving that amount for the holiday season, that could be another thing. I don't know. We don't know. All we can do is speculate.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. And what about this? What about what else do you have to say?
And that was like the sales, and then PS5 where they're announcing with, which we kind of went back and forth on VR. Maybe I'm trying to think. You brought up. Oh yeah, okay. I don't own an Xbox, but I will speak on their defense right now as a console, because I know you were downplaying what is this console doing, what's it providing, why is it all about Game Pass and not providing us new features, new quality, like new things that make it stand out. So I don't own a system. I researched what it can do. It doesn't provide what I want as a hardcore gamer, because I mostly play on PlayStation, and I got a PC because it does more than these consoles. But as defense on Xbox side, with the Series console, this is the only system. Like, if you are a retro gamer, all you care about is just playing old titles on new hardware to experience either it gets enhancements with higher fidelity or better frame rates, whatever it is. This console does it the best than any other platform. It's the only console that's 3 generations of backwards compatibility. Yes, it's not full backwards compatibility. You can't put the disc in and play offline. Okay, that's fine. You get through the DRM wall. You got an original Xbox game, let's say, Knights of the Old Republic. Take the disc, put in your Series console. It gets the license key on the, Microsoft storefront, and now you can play it and have the freedom to play whenever you want because you own the disc. That's a pro for retro gamers. If you have a collection of 360 games that support the Xbox consoles library, which is over 600 games, there you go. And a lot of these games, like most of them, got enhancements for FPS boosts and higher fidelity. That's there. So retro, that's a pro. Another thing, let's say modern features. The quick resume, I never used it because I don't own the console, but having stuff that happened from other people's perspective, like, when PS5 had Returnal came out, and how that game was like you can't save, you can't leave where you left off. You have to keep playing this game, and or
that was by gaming design. That was design choice.
That was from game design, which is fair. But the fact that the series console by an OS level can actually suspend your games where you left off at, and it can do like 4 games, I believe 4 or 5 games. I don't know the total amount. Is actually
Sony would have stopped you from being able to do that.
Well, Sony doesn't even allow the PS5 to suspend games.
No, if it was able to, it wouldn't allow it because that was a game. It was a gameplay decision. It wouldn't have worked anyway. When it comes out on PC, you're not going to be able to do it there either.
True, on PC you can't unless you get some third-party tools that allow it to happen. But it's still, as a gamer's perspective, most of us aren't playing 3 or 4 games on suspend at the same time. We'll have one main game that we might go to YouTube and go back to the game. Like, works perfectly fine. It's just for people who like to dabble in a variety of game titles. Like, let's say they're playing 2K, they're in the middle of a game, homeboy hits them on, let's go play Call of Duty. They can suspend 2K and not have to start over in the middle of the game. They can jump in with their friend in Call of Duty for an hour and get back to it without losing their progress. Like,
also, quick resume doesn't work for all games, and it's unreliable.
I mean, true. Not every game works well with it. Like, especially games.
It's like a 40% shot that it will work. That's the statistics for it.
It's higher than 40, man. It's higher than 40.
No.
It's higher. I know online games. Like, if you were in an online match with someone, of course, it's not going to work because it needs that connectivity for the network. But if you're doing like a single player or offline local game, like 2K, for example, or Madden, it'll work for those people that enjoy it. And
it only works for those games reliably. So anyway, go on.
And then like accessibility for people who are, if you're disabled and you aren't able to actually hold a controller, it's versatile as a console, so you can use their accessibility controller, the adaptive controller. Well, that's the name of it.
You mean like you got this is built in or what?
No, there's a dedicated adaptive controller they made during the Xbox One era.
Oh, see, that's the thing. You got to buy it though. We're talking about the Series X.
Well, okay. Sorry. I just wanted to give them kudos that that controller still works. So if they're gamers from the Xbox One era and they're disabled, this system can still allow you to use that same controller they purchased. So yeah, it's a hardware you have to buy extra, but it's still good to know that their latest system has that compatibility for older hardware that's native and allows you to go ahead and customize to your liking. But I think overall, and the quality of life features, the fact that it had VR day one, I mean, it gave us points, but a lot of people didn't have VR display, so it's up in the air if you call it. But
you can do all that on PC.
Yeah, you can.
So tell me why you need an Xbox.
I don't own it, bro. I'm just letting you know that.
No, I'm just saying. But here's the thing, though. You got the quick resume that doesn't really work like that. VRR is because the frame rate was usually kind of sucked on a Series X because they were pushing resolution over frame rate.
Yeah.
So they needed that anyway. We never really had a problem on the PlayStation side about like hardcore frame rate issues. You know what I'm saying? So that's quality of life. And even if quick resume worked, right?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly am I quick resuming if there's no games?
Stop that. You know they got games. It don't have to be exclusive, bro.
I'm just saying. What exactly am I quick resuming? I'm just saying. You gotta have games for it to kind of work a little bit.
I got games, man. Like I said, if you're a retro gamer, this console is perfect for you. Okay. If you're a retro gamer. What am I quick resume? Got no game.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I gotta buy all these accessories and controllers and shit like that. We all know they got too many of them bitches. So I gotta buy extra controllers to make this shit work. They already stopped support of backwards compatibility. It only works for the major games. So if I had some obscure games, it's always an issue. There's also the fucking online licenses that get all fucked up if you're not connected to Xbox Live. I mean, what we doing here?
It's just the ecosystem, man. It sucks. It sucks that the backwards compatibility is behind a DRM, like wall for anything like 360 or original Xbox. But at least their Xbox One games will work when you put them in, since those license keys are already pre-installed on the series consoles, like how PS5 is. So.
No, I mean, I'm not doing backflips to make this shit work. Promise you that.
I feel you.
Know what I mean, it's like you're trying to make it work. So,
but it beats being stuck in the cloud, because like the fact that the PS5 can't play PS3 games natively really sucks. Like I would love to play Sly Cooper and download it on my PS5.
Shit, I want to play the old. I like the PS2 versions.
Yeah, the Sly collections of PS2 ones that were remastered.
Well, they did it for the PS3, which means it won't work.
Yeah, easily. That's my problem.
You know what I'm saying? My problem is that the lack of support for PS2 games, even if it's first party, that's a fucking problem. Get your shit together, Sony. Get your shit together. I'm tired of this shit. Oh shit! I put mad marks on my shit. So,
I'm actually mad. They announced the Sly collection coming to the PS Plus Premium, and I'm thinking like, bro, this isn't new. It was already on PS Now. Where I platinum.
Y'all got ganked. Y'all bought premium, yo. You ganked. I got gankied. You know what I'm saying?
All I'm saying. 5 years ago on PS Now for $60 a year. Now I got to pay twice the amount for the same.
They hit your ass with a semantic. It was like, shit, we releasing games month on month, but first we're gonna take it away from the other service and then add it to the new service. Let's say that we're adding games, which they technically are, because they're not the same service. I mean, y'all shit. I saw that shit from a mile away, y'all. I was like, they want me to do what?
They want you to pay more for the same games that already existed.
I was like, I peeked at that shit. I was like, are they going to start releasing PSP or PS1 games? Oh, they not? Okay.
Not a single
I said, what about PSP games? Oh, no? Not that either?
No PSP updates. They only have Echo Chrome.
I was like, oh, that's your games? You don't even want to put your games out there? Okay. Making sure. No. So, but I think I've actually kind of exhausted all these particular topics. Anything else you want to go over?
No, that's it. I don't want to hold you up. I appreciate you letting me speak. I know it came late though. I'll try to join. It's just when I got things personal happening, I can only listen on the sidelines. No,
I mean, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. You know, I'm starting to get my little strive on how to do this shit. You know what I mean? If I don't have anybody on the show, I'm like, damn, I could play off people, man. But
I think you're doing well. I know you had a live stream, I think a week or two ago, and then you had Guap in here, you had King Thrash in here. That one was very artistic, like. So I think you're doing well. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Trying, man. This shit is difficult. There's been a couple of times I want to stop doing this shit, yo. Just for time purposes, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna just not do this shit, right? And then all of a sudden I get a random message, somebody pop up, right? And they were like, yo, I just want to tell you that your shows be really lit. And I watch that shit every day. I'm like, you watch what? I'm like, damn it, I can't quit. I can't cancel. I can't stop. You know what I mean? So there's that. So I'll try to do my best here. But yo, thank you everybody that jumped in there. I hope this was a decent show. There was like no fucking topics to talk about, like none. I didn't know what to talk about. I was like, bro, I'm scratching for shit. But I started thinking about it. I was like, I could make this work. You know, talk about this shit. That was difficult. Anyway, I'll see you guys on